In some settings that I'm now coming across in a lot of developing worlds, where there's a lot of poverty, some men or women have not had access or cannot have insurances or afford to have insurances. So the question is, what do they do? Or when they were even living alive, they were not basically living from hand to mouth. So what tends to happen is when the man dies, maybe they were living in a little house, even the widow is even pushed out of the house by the in-laws, I'm hearing, in some parts of the world. So it depends on where you're at. So I'm just privileged to be where I am, where I can access insurance policies, or I grew up in a home where my father knew he had to write a will. But what do we say in communities where there's illiteracy, there's no education? There has to be programs there for grassroots to educate people on basic education, job opportunities. It's just phenomenal, the things that there's no certain infrastructures have to be set up for even people to even perceive or to know that they have to protect their future.
All right. Now, another thing that I really would like I would like you to speak to is the issue
Yeah,
of finance. Now, you
yeah,
see, we are in Europe. A lot of,
yeah,
okay, let's say the women now, because the men also do it, but of course, since the European system favor more the women than the men, of course, the men become even more,
yeah,
they do it more, in that people feel they are comfortable by trying to live on the providences of the system, no? That you go to the government, they pay you money. So for this, you don't really think it is important for you to work on yourself and create something for yourself, because of course that takes
yeah,
extra energy. The way you need to suffer now because you are going to go
mm,
beyond the above the average. So a lot of
yes,
people that I know are in this sort of trap, no? Since we are trying to make sure that we have a quality life, because what the state is going to give you is to have the basic, no? So that you can be alive,
yeah,
because they don't want people, they have,
yeah,
one thing that is beautiful about the Western lifestyle is that they want to give everybody the basic. And they have fought
yeah,
very hard to make sure that it's available. Of course, we don't even have that in Africa, no? But we know that the
yeah,
basic is not enough. We need life. We can decide what we want, no? You can pay for your bill. You can choose to live where you want to live. Of course,
yeah,
not in affluence style, no? You will be able to do
mm,
this if you pay the extra cost. With me, say maybe, for example, you come from Mozambique, or you come from Nigeria, you come from Senegal, you are now found in Germany or in France or in UK, you can do something. Like, I don't know, try to
mm,
requalify your educational background, get a job, instead of just
yeah,
rely on the benefit from the state, no? Because if that is
yeah,
what your family is relying on, you and
mm,
your husband or your wife, if one of them goes, it's going to be more heavy for the one who is left behind. I'm saying this because you said before that one of the problems that you discover is finance. And I think that is really true because I've seen it too. So what I'm
yeah,
saying now is that can't we, right now, because we are still alive, try to
mm,
work on ourselves so that we can have something to live by in case something happens? Because we are not sure of what is going to happen.
but the Bible does say a good man leaves a good inheritance to his children's children. There's so many issues here, but in terms of with the welfare states in England, the welfare state where you get benefit is only to sustain you until you find the job opportunity or training opportunity. But what tends to happen as well is some people become so reliant on it that they become complacent and do not, the dream or ambition they have seems to die. However, you have to continually be growing. So, and I even find that many times with issues, even in relationships and marriages, sometimes the men are not driven enough. They're not driven enough to find, okay, there's so many issues. Okay, there's so many issues. There's issues around immigration. Immigration is a big
Let's
one.
talk about it.
So
We are here to
some
talk about
people,
the issue.
yeah, so many things. There's immigration. So immigration ties a lot of men and women's hands down. Where a lot of Nigerians are very educated in England, but then sometimes they don't necessarily obtain employment for the level of what they've been educated at. Number three, as many leaders now in our communities in England are teaching, it's about educating yourself that you don't need a job. You can actually set up your own business. Number 4, the internet has created so many opportunities to create wealth and be self-employed, But I find the biggest thing in terms of our communities is immigration. If there's an issue around immigration, it ties a lot of people's hands. However, a lot of people from my community, Nigerian community, are very ambitious. They work very hard. The average Nigerian that I know, I will at least have 1 degree or 2. However, it's also about picking degrees and study areas that are relevant, not necessarily the traditional areas to study. But there's a lot of things you can learn in terms of in the digital world now. And I'm so happy to see a lot of our young children coming up and learning from that angle rather than going into traditional professions where you get to a certain point financially and then there's no financial growth or access for growth. And the drudgery of work just grounds you down, and that can even make you have mental health problems. Because look what happened during the COVID. A lot of our doctors, care workers on the front line lost their lives because they were doing work on grassroots, and perhaps people were there for 10, 20 years and maybe didn't have the opportunity to leave or even find other opportunities. But I'm saying there's so much opportunities now.
Yeah, right. That is true. There is so much opportunity now in the world we live in today. So that you said it all, no? Because the internet is a leveler. In that with internet, wherever you are, if you are connected to internet, you can do a lot of things today. It is possible. Yeah. All right. Now let's go back to the real meat of this session of the conversation, which is widowhood, the loss of one part of the component of the marriage, which brings a lot of pain and a lot of distress. No. Now I'm trying to understand the children that are left behind. What have you found on those parts? How do they manage to go on with their life?
I think what I've come across is women have worked alongside me. If you're a woman who has vision and quite strong in your faith and strong in your vision for the future, the children thrive. I always believe that if your children see you're thriving, they thrive as well. However, what I did initially is when milestone passed, it's important to explore what is happening with your children emotionally and find the support they need. Like for me, I contacted their schools and found out what support to make them aware that this has happened. So as much as they're returning to school, the world doesn't look normal at this present time because of the loss of their dad. So what support do they have in the school? So I explored that, gained support for my children. And I did it all along the way. Even when they left certain schools, wherever I found there was an emotional gap, I tried to seek out help and get support. And then obviously got them to join groups, because the more active our children are, and the more you expose them to different kinds of children, the more they realize that what they think is a huge challenge in their lives, actually, they would hear more bigger stories that people have to share. And it becomes quite humbling. And you appreciate also other people's journeys and not just dwell as a victim in your own challenge as well.
Okay, thank you for that. In the course of this, your work on widowhood, have you maybe see some people who maybe are here? Because I'm trying to see if we can pay more attention to the African diaspora, no? Of course, it's still important in Africa, this particular conversation, no? Of course, we will really need more element to deal on it, no? Like the culture, the tradition, because all this one play very much on what happened and on the event when it has happened in Africa, no? But here, that does still play a part, but it's less heavy compared to what happens in Nigeria. Do you sometimes see people complain of pressure from home? Maybe, for example, they have lost their husband, now they are here alone, trying to raise the children. Is there like a kind of a pressure from home, maybe from the family of the man trying to do something that is against the will of these women, these widows?
Well, I've met different people. I mean, during being online and talking to widows, there was a case I came across of a woman who became widowed in a developed world. And all the property the man had, the in-laws, apparently in Nigeria, got documentation and went to claim the property in the courts in another country. So that meant she was actually driven out of her home with her children and so on and so forth. Then there's people in like East Africa that I've liaised with where the man died suddenly due to an illness, and then the business collapsed because they couldn't pay the loan back. Then that impacted on her credit. Then she lost her job because she had to stay with her children because they're quite young. Even though the mother is around, the mother lives far away. And then even as much as I do things online, some of the women cannot afford the Wi-Fi is too expensive. So that takes away from even the support they can get internationally or from whatever, because you don't have enough time. The benefit of the internet is you can communicate with anyone, even in your country. But then there's issues around the money to pay for the internet. But thank God for WhatsApp. People use more WhatsApp and stuff now. So you can share links and so on and so forth on that. Then I've come across cases where people have been beaten. There was a lady who was telling me that she doesn't have anything to eat. They've pushed her out of her house and her children. So many horror stories that I don't even want to share. It's not even worth thinking about. Yeah, so you come across that. So it's like from one side of the pendulum to the other, where widows are thriving perhaps in the West, but they're dwelling so much on the past, but they're comfortable. And there's people on the other pendulum where they're thriving, they want to seek a new vision, but they don't have the means to do it, or they haven't given the basis to do it, the springboard. It's just so wide, it's such a wide area.